What's up, everyone? Today we're gonna have a special guest. His name is Cool Luke. Crazy waiver, all that stuff. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be a wild conversation. I already know it. I already know it. But let me get this written in the comments so if anyone has a question they like to ask or add to the conversation. It's like a conversation. It's open. We might talk about this, might go to that. Maybe nothing waving at all. Who knows? Nah, we'll talk about something. I would love to hear his thoughts and his ideas. Okay, Cool Luke interview. And let's just put that as no. Ask any questions. Ask any question. Questions. Hello, Phoenix. Okay, and then let's add. Let's see. Cool. Will it work? Ah, how's it going?
What is up?
How are you, sir?
I'm good. A little sleepy, but I got my 9 o'clock coffee right here in my kid's cup.
Nice. Okay, you came
Yeah,
prepared.
yeah, a little bit.
Nice. No. Oh, well, I appreciate, first of all, I appreciate you finding time to do this interview and
Oh, for
taking
sure.
time out of your day. Also with the kids. I didn't even know I didn't know you had the kids.
Yeah, I got almost 3 year old and a 3 month old.
Wow. 3 and 3. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So sleep is at a minimal, but I'm good.
Right. Dang. Would you say, I don't have kids, but they talk about, or I've heard a lot about, they say like terrible twos, or like at the age of two around that is a lot of energy and a lot of like just
Yeah.
like exploring, touching everything.
Yeah, it's more like terrible threes. I feel like as three approaches, that's when it's really like unchained
Everything
energy.
is like,
But like in a way, it's inspiring because like you get to see just like pure, unfiltered, unlimited energy. Like they just go until they're out, and
right.
then they go. So
Right, right.
yeah,
It's wild. I was at a friend's recently, and their neighbors, like little girls, they must be like 3, 4, around that age. But also, it's just so wild to see like the free exploring, like the mind, like just touch everything, look at everything, say whatever, yell. It's like this, the unfiltered, you said.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's just wild to see. Obviously, they're like little humans or little people, they grow up and then here we are.
for sure. No,
So that.
speaking of which, that's something I appreciate about your craft in particular is I feel like you kept that essence
Mm.
in creativity and kind of just like unfiltered exploration, in like
Yeah,
your craft.
yeah, definitely that non-judgmental, just do whatever comes to your mind, that freedom, I would say. Like
Yeah.
that childlike thing. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I definitely I try to stay playful. It's funny, I work with kids actually in the school system, so I feel like that
Mm,
plays a role in just that tapping into your childlike self. I know in life we
yeah.
get older and there's pressure sometimes and stuff, but I guess I appreciate that ability to be around children, working with them. So,
Yeah, it's kind of
yeah.
like once you hit a certain age, that door closes, and sometimes it just doesn't open again for some people. Like some people are just like adult, like just like
This is
nine to
interesting.
five.
Well, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I think it would be an interesting question. Is the door always closed for some people, or it can always be opened? Like,
In
do
regards
some
to what?
people, to creativity, people with that freedom, like, do some people, they can always have it, hold on to it, open the door, or they're just, no, life just took it away, they can't tap back in.
I think there's some like mental blockades for some people that are difficult to get past, whether that's like how people perceive them or,
Mm,
judgment, I guess. Like, so
mm,
those are always like filters that like I feel like your creativity is flowing, then it has to pass by each little filter that you have in your mind. And some people have, more filters
uh,
than others.
so that's a good, I like that picture, filters, I can visually see that.
Yeah.
All right, man, so I appreciate it. I wanted to, first of all, you're from the Grand Rapids, Michigan?
Yeah,
Okay,
yep.
I have never been there. I lived in Pennsylvania. I literally had to pull it up just to see where is this. I'm horrible with the map. And I was looking up stuff. It's known for beer. It's known for like, uh, what else? They have social zones where you could like drink outside and walk around in some
It's
places.
become a
And
very like modern hippie
yes,
kind of spot. Yeah,
yeah.
it's real chill over here. Like it has its little pockets of like dicey areas, but for the most part, it's pretty chill.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, I was like, I felt like it's the East Coast. Would it be considered
Nah,
Michigan? No?
Midwest.
Midwest. Okay,
Yep.
got you. All right. No, dope, dope. So, Cool Hand Luke, question. That's the first time I heard of you, or at least your name was in that clip that I interviewed, or the one that I was sharing on my story. Like, where did it start? Can we begin? Where did you become, when did you become this crazy waving concept popper animation just like for me, I'll tell you this, I watched a lot of YouTube videos, so my
Uh-huh.
background, like when
Same.
videos were coming, I was a very YouTube person. Like I didn't have it around, like I wasn't going to events as like, oh, like, that's how you hear what's going on. But what I saw, I would watch a lot of videos, and I came across the video of, it was in Baltimore,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it was in Baltimore, and like I know that, I forget who the host was, but they're known for the digits. They're known for the liquid community,
Mhm.
and so I would like watch their stuff. And then I know Popping Todd, because I would his videos would pop up, and he's crazy at what he does. And
Yeah.
then there was a video, a waving styles of liquid competition, and I looked up that video, and I remember when I saw that video, I was like, this dude, this guy Kool Luke, he waves so differently. Like his concepts are different. Like there's no one. It's it's something that's very unique. And like what I think then I think your name started more people talking about it. People want to know and stuff. But I guess the question is, how did it begin? How did you become Kool Luke?
So I can start from like the very beginning, or I can start to like the first checkpoint, I guess. So I mean, it's just whatever you want to hear.
Let's let.
But
I guess a question also aside. Have you done an interview before? Have you been interviewed about like your story and dance and?
no, what's funny is I've been like really wanting to put something together just so I have like a reference point of like my story, so it doesn't get lost in the mix. Because as more time goes, as I'm less and less active with like life priorities, I would like just to like have a little page etched in stone from like this is my little tablet, my scroll that I can refer to, you know. So
I
this was
hear you.
perfect timing.
Oh,
Yeah.
dope! Awesome. We're gonna get this solid. We're gonna get this stone etch. It's gonna look so dope looking back. Okay, so let's start with the checkpoint. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I originally started sea walking with my two cousins. Like that
Hmm.
was my first like real dive into like body movement to music. And just so happened to be on YouTube because like at the time, this was like 2007.
Hmm.
I saw Poppin' John's Body Talk video. He
Yes.
was in a parking lot with like just this like white button up, and the way he looked, the magic behind it, it just was like, and I was
Hmm.
like, I have to learn the magic.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
so that that was the first domino flick that just kept going, you know? Like it was Poppin' John's Body Talk video. Yeah.
Okay. So you watched that video. Now you're practicing. Are you?
Yeah, so I was pretty much just at that point emulating, looking up whatever tutorials I could and
Okay.
just but I naturally was pretty decent at waving. I just had no structure, but I could make like a real flow. Like I was good at always looking flowy. So
So you were always good at looking. Was this just, it felt natural to you?
I don't know if it's a body type thing or like just understanding my mechanics, I guess. But
Mhm.
yeah, but I'm also 6'3", so I got some length. Uh
Oh, damn. I would never know that.
yeah, so I have some length, so I feel like that like really helps like elongate the flow in certain ways.
Right, right. That is interesting. I have heard of like people say like the taller you are, the more mass you have, the more space you're taking. So certain movements, like if I hit someone that's taller hitting, it would seem much more an effect. Or even waving, I would think. Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't think I've never seen a meta waver that's like 6'3".
Yeah,
But
I think it's important to double down on your body type because each
mm,
body type is like a superpower. Like I have a cousin that I train with. and he's a shorter guy and stronger guy. So I'm like, go to the ground, you know. And then now he's like super explosive, like stuff I
Nice.
could never do just because off my mechanics, you know.
Right. Okay. Okay. The mechanics. Okay. So you're watching popping John pops up. Boom. Now you start watching. You're exploring. Naturally, you have this the mechanics. How did you? When did the name Cool Hand Luke come about? When did that was given? What's the
So
story?
so I originally was genetics.
That was your name,
I,
genetics.
I was genetics,
Okay.
and so yeah, that's so I was talking to Slick Dog. I think it was westcoastpoppin.com.
Okay. A lot of
It was
people have
like
talked about that. I never. Okay.
yeah, it was a forum like way back in the day, and I would just see there was gold on there, but there's a lot of arguments. So I was like sifting through, and for me, just like coming off of a YouTube video that I seen, I was just like, what? You know what I mean? Like the politics, I guess you can call it, was just kind of over my head.
Hmm.
But this guy I was reading kept making so much sense, and he was just dropping so much gold to where I like sent him a personal message, and I was like, hey, like, do you mind if I like learn something from you personally? And he was like, yeah, gave me his phone number, talked to him for like 6 months, and he never seen me at all. Like I was just purely learning over the
Hmm.
phone, and he had no idea, but it was Slick Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then once he finally seen me, I was like, hey, did you happen to see that clip I sent you? Because I finally got a camera and whatnot. And he was like, what clip? And I was just like, you actually left a comment on it. He was like, that's you? But my voice threw him off. So he was thinking my voice was gonna belong to somebody else.
Got it. So he didn't the body and the voice. He didn't connect it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it just blew his mind, and then from there he just was like, zeroed in on me and really spent like a lot of time teaching me.
Mm,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Wow. So would you say Slick Dog's influence, or there is an influence of Slick Dog's waves, or well, how would you describe his part of your development of style?
Um, oh my bad, I didn't even answer the question. So I was genetics, and once
Oh
he
yeah,
like
cool.
got a hold of my demeanor and whatnot, he was like, "You need a different name." He's like, "Oh," he's like, "Genetics ain't it," and I was just like, "I love genetics though," you know. And then he was like, "No, there's this old movie from like the 50s or 60s." He was like with Paul Newman. He was like, "It's called Cool Hand Luke." He was like, "That's your name now." I was like, "All right,
Interesting.
that's my name now." Yeah, and then
Wow.
so I made a Facebook page, and it was like Cool, and I messed it up and got logged out. And then he was like, just spell it with a K. So then it was like Kool. So
Bro,
like
that is
literally,
so dope how that all just worked. Like just hearing the story, that's so wild. Okay.
yeah. So I just from there I just kept it. And then but yeah, as far as like his influence on me, it was mainly a lot of mentality. I wouldn't say like his actual style
Okay.
impacted me because it never fit me. It just
Mm,
was the logic behind it and like how he developed certain things really stuck to me. So I was able to do it with my own body, you know. And
yeah.
then once I started like I had like an inkling of creation, he was like, "You just created something," you know. And then from there it was just like, "I did what?" You know. And then like it just was so exciting to have something that was like unique to me.
Wow.
Yeah, like
Yes.
personal that I just got hooked, and I was just like, I got to make more. Like I got to do more, you know.
Okay. So I know we started this convo talking about creativity, about how the doors open or there's, frames or lenses that are stopping
Hmm.
it. How when I see that first saw a video of you, there I see so many ideas and concepts of waving. How did you open that key for yourself? Or what was that experience like when was it just like easy to just this and this, or was it like what was that experience with your creativity?
I will say I do have a knack for it. Um,
Mm,
Not to say it's impossible for anybody else, but it does like it's almost like the more I studied, the more I seen like the solid roads, and then like I was starting to see in betweens to where like if
mm,
I'm practicing like rudiments that Slick was teaching me, like my ABCs, I was starting to bridge them into words like naturally. I'm like, oh, so I can take these and make this
mm,
word, and then
mm.
Slick's like, yeah, you could. And then I would do it. And if it worked, I would develop that. But if it didn't, he'd be like, that shit sucks. He's like, never do that again. He was really harsh, but in a
Mm,
great way though.
right.
So it really like cut the fat off immediately, which helped me develop even quicker because like I wasn't just spending too much time on things that didn't work. He would let me know immediately, like this doesn't work, you know?
Okay. Yeah, great feedback. It's just facts. Just get straight to it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like don't go beating around the bush. Okay. So you're training now, you're getting sharp and everything. And now like were you battling or were you becoming more active by then? Or
Um, so the funny thing is like only locally was I really like getting out. Like I would go to like skating rinks with my cousins or like just in the
mm,
basement, you know, just
mm,
any chance I could get, I would take it. But like as far as like competitions and whatnot, I never really was a big competitor, especially once I got under Slick, because
mm.
during that time it was like the G Style Boogaloo Wars,
I
and
see.
you know,
I was saw on the pages. Yeah, what you're
yeah,
talking.
yeah. So his logic was once he started seeing like my potential, he was like, "I'm keeping you as like a secret
Hidden
weapon
secret weapon. Nice. Okay.
for this battle that's gonna take place,
Ah,
and it's gonna be this ultimate showdown. You know, like this
you're
is
the
how it was.
trap card. You got the Exodia pieces he's trying to
Yeah,
play.
this is how it was presented to me. So I was just like, okay, like yeah. So like I that gave me like a north star. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I gotta be ready.
Yes,
You know, and then
yes.
so yeah, then once I actually got in the crew, which was like at the December of '08, I think.
Mm,
It was right around Christmas. Then it
mm-hmm.
was like I'm with like Tempo
Oh,
and Frantic and
right,
Bootsy, to where I was like, and I felt like I was just like so much to catch up because these guys are already
right,
like veterans at this point, you know?
right.
So like it just was all motivators that really helped me just keep pushing. Yeah.
Wow, that's wow. Okay, now okay. So when does this? I like to talk about the that event, the one where you end up battling Todd at the end. What was that whole experience like? Like, how was that? Was like a liquid? Was it the first liquid waving strictly battle you've been to, or
Yeah, it was fluid
like,
styles is what they
yeah?
called it. So I was just like the whole idea, I was like, so you can just do anything as long as you're fluid. I was like, all right, well yeah, I got waves for sure. But actually King Mike from Baltimore
Mm.
flew me out for that. That's the whole reason I was there was King Mike.
Oh,
He uh
okay.
he funded that and got me out there. Yeah.
Wow.
Which was like a lot of people's first exposure to me because like at this point these guys already knew what I had and what I was doing. So like it was still like just a well kept secret, so to speak, besides whatever Slick would, you know, leak out. But
Mm-hmm.
and then it was kind of against Slick's wishes because he didn't want me to go there and get played in the finals and then have it be like our style's better than your style. Like it was very
Oh,
like
he didn't.
that.
He felt like the politics were gonna like pop up, and there's gonna be a whole like thing there.
Yeah, which it ended up being like that too in the comment sections and whatnot. It was a mess. Like
Okay.
great time, but like the comment sections just were
Yeah, yeah.
like I just did one of these, you know. It's just
He said,
yeah,
floating
right
away.
back to the shadows. I was like, all right, well, but
Interesting. Okay, how was that? Oh, how was that experience being at that event? The battles, or any highlights for you? Any moments
um
that was stood out for you?
it was great just being around like even Poppin' Todd was somebody like because like the progression was Sobotics from Poppin' John because like naturally you search and then you get related videos and whatnot. So
Mhm.
Poppin' Todd and Poppin' John, like I would see them, you know, with the gold paint and silver paint, those videos back in the day.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
like
yes.
so like I have a lot of respect for Todd. So like to get to see him and battle him in person along with like, you know, like Icy from the Moonrunners, he was there,
Yes,
like
right.
Castro was there. You know, there's a lot of people that I was just like, it was very inspiring to see in person versus just a YouTube watcher.
Yeah, of
But it
course, of
plus it
course.
was like a big moment for me to be like, how am I gonna do with this pressure? You know, like is it gonna be too much or am I gonna perform? But that type of stuff excites me. So I'm just like, all right, let's yeah.
Wow.
So so the whole vibe was cool, like big bionicle heads everywhere, you know,
Yes,
just like
that's crazy. That was a someone. It was so. It's so funny. Like I know I've seen the video so many times, but it wasn't until recently where someone replied. They're like, "What's where is this? And why is there bionicles in the back?" And I was like, "Oh, there is. That's really cool. Like they got bionicle heads. Like that was a club, right? It was like a venue. It was just a
yeah, essentially. I have no idea why they decorated it that way, but I was just like, I love it, you know? Like it's
yeah.
cool.
No, it definitely fit the vibe. I see. It's Alonzo Player says as someone who was there, the battle was crazy. Nah, yeah,
Yeah,
dope.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean.
Bishop was there, smooth. Like
Yeah.
there was cipher battles there. Like it was, yeah, it was crazy.
Wow. Okay. So after that, where did you, was there a certain mindset you had or goal, or did you kind of go into the shadows again and would pop out? Like where were you, your journey was at that after that event, or I guess where was your mind?
So I took a lot of inspiration from King Mike and Real Cool when I seen them, because
Mm,
the way they commanded their presence just was so larger than life. And Mike is taller than I am, you know what I mean?
mm,
Like he's a big guy.
okay.
So like to see like just how huge he is, like larger than life in the ciphers and like whatnot, just like across the room, and I can still like magnetically just my eyes are drawn towards him. So I'm just like that's something that I really took in and brought home to where I was just like, all right, I need some of that, like, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that
Interesting.
that was
Okay.
like my main takeaway. Besides the waving, besides all that, like that was it for me. I was just like, that presence is something that's special, you know?
Wow. Nice. So pulling that and putting it into your, how you translate it, how you work it with your style.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. So then, like, where did you, since that, like, that time, which was like, I don't know how many years ago that was. Like, I don't know how, what were, till now, what has been, where have you been with dance, outside of dance? Where, I guess, yeah,
So
what's been going on in your journey since, like, then, I would like to know.
yeah, so I guess I keep skipping, but so from there I kind of just chilled out, went back to the shadows. You know, I would do local events and just really experiment. So like any footage, like there is footage on YouTube, but like sometimes I just look different. But I'm usually just like experimenting. I'm like, oh, let's see if I go out there and just try this instead of this. You know, like it was just constantly a experiment more than it was like let me try and win this
Mm-hmm.
competition. Yeah, especially in like all style battles. But so that brought me up to like 2015, which was 2 years later than the Baltimore event,
Okay.
and they had auditions for "So You Think You Can Dance" in Detroit.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I went out there with a bunch of buddies, my cousins I was talking about earlier, and we all auditioned, you know, and just gave it a go. You know, it was freezing outside. We're out there just, you know, and then
Yeah.
that ended up turning into like a great audition for me, like super. Like I went first out of anybody for the celebrity judges. So like I got to kick off the whole thing,
You
which was like,
went first in front of the celebrity judges?
yeah, so like it was a perfect opportunity to like set the tone. Like so I was just like, all right, perfect. The attention spans are there,
They're
you know,
ready.
like
It needs to
yeah,
give
like
it to them.
it's
Just give them.
prime opportunity. So and I went out there and delivered picture perfect. Best I could do at the time was like what I did. And like halfway through they're like standing ovation. I'm like, this is all right, this is kind of cool, you know. So like it was supposed to be like a 30-second audition, but it ended up being like close to 2 minutes.
They let you
So I
just
was
do
just
the whole thing.
going. Yeah.
Mm.
So I was super excited, went to Vegas, really got turned off by like the Hollywood part of it, I guess.
You
The
gotta win.
yeah, like the cameras and like
Not
the
the,
stories and like
what's your
they were
statement?
really
Say
trying to
it. Yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
really
Say
trying
it.
to draw like a sad story, and I just was like, I'm good, you know, like I'm here having fun, you know.
But you gotta
But
say you want to win. You know, that's what you.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
main. I know that's.
yeah.
But okay, continue.
Didn't realize
Continue.
that at the time, but so I was like the whole time though, I was just like my audition was great. I was like, just televise that, and I'm just, you know,
Right.
I'm
You're
good. And
like,
then
thank you for the footage. Thank you for the content.
yeah, and then comes time for the footage, you know, season airs and whatnot, and then they cut mine into small little fragments that were like maybe 10 seconds total, and went with like the more sob stories, the more heartstring pulling stories, where I was just like, so I was like, so talent isn't everything, clearly, because that was the best I could have done, but they
Oh.
wanted more. They wanted a story, they wanted engagement. Like, so it was such a big lesson, but also such a big turnoff for me. But
Yeah, yeah.
that ended up turning into me going to Memphis because I met a guy named Montrell.
Oh, that's right. Juking, because you do juke a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, so now you go to Memphis. Hmm. Hmm.
Yep.
I feel like I want to, the comment about the so you think you could dance. Dang. It's such a shame that the footage, but yeah, it's a reality. It's a, it's entertainment, and then you have to have the stories, you know,
Yeah,
the
I
sadness.
didn't. I was so like bullheaded at the time though. To where I was just like, no, I can just look at my waves. You know, my waves are
Don't you
doing
understand? What I'm doing is
it.
far beyond the understandings of what the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
no, I hear
yeah.
you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Memphis. So you go to Memphis was just to expand your journey with like just your styles. What inspired you to go to Memphis?
So I was pretty much at that point burnt out with popping and waving. Like the politics just caught up to me to where I was just like, this is exhausting.
Damn.
Like it was my initially my, getaway, my release because when I first started, I was like 16 and I had dropped out recently. I was at home taking care of stuff that I had to take care of.
Mhm.
So like I was just dedicated to the craft strictly. Like I was able to be home and do what I had to do and then, bounce
Right,
back and
right.
forth. So my life was just popping and waving for a minute there.
I see.
But then with the politics and being associated certain ways, it just became too
Peace out. No,
much. Became too much to where I was just like, man, this is
dang,
exhausting.
that
So
sucks.
I was a little burnt out. So when I was at So You Think You Can Dance, I was in Vegas and they were doing the choreo rounds and it was like super like boy band, like, and I was just like, because I was like, I got friends that are gonna see this, like I don't want to get roasted in the group chats.
You just you're like, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
I'm not
uh,
feeling
so
doing it.
so everybody's like, doing it like their life depends on it in this huge room, and I'm just like kind of just like looking around, taking it all in, and then I see another guy just standing there doing the same, and it was Montreal. So I went up to him and I was
Oh,
like,
y'all both. That's interesting.
yeah, and I was like, how you feel about this? And he was like, it's like, no, he's like, I'm from Memphis. He's like, I can't be seen doing this. And yeah, I completely understand that. You know what I mean? So like
Wow,
me and him kind of connected on that, and seeing his spirit and how much he enjoyed his own craft really inspired me again. To where I was just like,
wow.
it really that's what got me onto Jookin because I was just like the way he just was so like heart driven behind it. He not so much like brain, but more heart. To where I was just like, that's what I'm missing. I was like, that's
Interesting.
inspiring to me at the moment
Mm.
because before that I was all brain. So
You were
yeah,
like a scientist. You were
yeah,
like,
yeah. Yeah, I've
mm.
always said I was like I'm not the best dancer by any means. Like there's so many other phenomenal dancers, but my knack is I can just like craft things together and create, and like create like beautiful pictures. That's what I'm more into.
Man, that's a great way you said that the craft of creating beautiful pictures. And I want to just ask, what's some advice you would give someone that was like, man, I want to create beautiful pictures. How do I do it, Cool Hand? How do I do it?
Uh, it depends on what your medium is, so to speak. Like, are you a painter or are you
They're a,
like
they're a dancer.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, like even so to speak with dancing, because there's styles. So like waving could be the equivalent to like painting. So like what is your niche that you're going for? What's has your general interest? And then
Uh,
from
they want to be a creative waver.
okay, so yeah, so then you would have to like start with your ABCs. Like the part nobody wants to do is the very boring, repetitive beginning, like the nucleus. Like they
Mm.
want all this. So I'm like, you have to like spend time here. Like, yes, it's boring. Yes, you have to do your research. Like you pretty much gotta pay the sweat toll. And it's unavoidable.
Nice. That's
But
great. I like that.
but with anything in life, it's the holds true. Like, if you're drawing a picture, you're not gonna get a beautiful stroke until you do this 1,000 times, 1,000 times.
Mm.
And then eventually like you get a perfect stroke and you're like, oh, then I can do this with it. And then you start to see where you can keep building different pathways. And I'm kind of like that with waving to where I can just see like different pathways. And then like so once you add
Interesting.
logic to the pathways, then it just becomes like a Rube, what's it called? Rube Goldberg. Um,
Yeah.
like when there's like a balloon will blow up and pop, and then a race car comes down the track and hits something else, and that knocks into
Ah,
this.
yes, I know what you're saying, and I think you are, and this that is sounds like it. I know what you're saying with the whole effect,
So
and then the
like,
ball goes, the Lego piece, the light pulls up, the
yep.
thing. Oh,
So cause and effect is the best way to sum that up. Like once you start mastering cause and effects, or like Slick likes to say, set up delivery is his system. Then it starts to become like a whole world of like it almost feels like I'm building like Hot Wheels tracks and I just let the car go and you see the end result of the car going everywhere, you know, and then it's just like, whoa, that's crazy. But like in my mind, it's just one big Hot Wheels track that I constructed, you know.
Wow. Do you like Hot Wheels or ever interested in Hot Wheels?
Just a metaphor,
Or
yeah.
it would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like, oh yeah, maybe I work on cars or something. That would be like, oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Wow.
for
All
sure.
right. Nice. Okay. Nice. 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 That's a really cool. Would metaphor be the word that you just described? As for
I
Hot
guess. Yeah.
Wheels, the picture. That's a really good image. That's cool. All
Analogy, I
right.
guess.
Analogy. Nice. Nice. Okay. And I like the analogy about you saying, well, the sweat hole because that's the evidence. That's the you can't get past. You have to put the work. And you said thousands of hours. Would you say you've put thousands of hours more into your waving?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing about training. How do people train? And like you said, would the system or Slick Dog's system was all this training, this repetition.
Yep.
Interesting.
So he had different training methods and methodologies. He was like genius level with what you would
Wow.
think is just regular things. Like, you know, you talk to the average person or like, oh yeah, this, whoa, you
Right.
know, but it's just like the amount of brain power, not just him, but Pomona in general
Mm.
for their lineage put into waving is just like insane, you know. So like once you get a grasp of how they were thinking, it kind of just automatically elevates your thinking to where you're like, okay, like I see the bar up here, so I have to come up here, you know.
Mm. What can you go into this thinking, this thought process? You're saying of Pomona. What is
Yeah.
what is the I'm not familiar. What's the history of Pomona? Why is waving such a strength or coming from there so powerful?
So, so I know a lot of it came from No Bone, like he's like a huge pillar over there, and then it
Okay.
branched out into like Stokes and Slick, and you know, Slick taught Dollar Bill, who a lot of people love. Like that was one of his first students. So yeah, and then I don't know what gravitated them specifically towards waving, but they just took it and like ran with it. But their mentality is always just like a lot of things that Slick drilled in my head was like even when you hit like super simple waves, he was like, I'm perfect. Like I'm perfect. You know, every time you hit it, it's just like it's a mentality of perfection and like
It's like it's not like a mantra almost of this
yeah,
repetition saying
like
I am this, I am this.
yeah, it's a real specific mentality, but it's etched through hard work, you know, like
So you're backing it up
yeah,
with
it's almost, it reminds me of like a samurai that's just like,
written.
I perfected this sword strike.
Wow.
Like, you are not going to beat me at this sword strike. Like, I own it, you know? And then, like, not only do I own it, but I've added to it. Like, now it's my, like, approach, my style, you know?
This is interesting. This is interesting. Like again, I'm not familiar at all with how Slick Dog teaches or the mentality or Pomona. Um, and would you say? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not. It looked like everyone from G Style, every member was very dope, great at what they did.
Yeah.
They all had the mentality.
Yeah. And it was important to look different. Like, that was a huge thing as
Mm,
well. Like, even the OGs, like the Pomona OGs, like, no two OGs look similar, you know?
right.
Like they have the ability to emulate each other, but they don't. They keep in their own lanes, which is super important. Like, and it trickled down to like the the generation after. Like Tempo was before me, but like I came in right at the cusp, you know. So I would always see him, and then Slick would be like, "Look at Tempo, like he's creating. Like this is his stuff. This ain't Pomona. Like he's adding on top of
Right.
it." So I'd be like, huh. And then once
Wow.
I would do it, Slick was like, oh shit. He's like, no, I got two of you guys. Like, you
That's
know,
so.
so
It's taking its own form,
yeah,
whatever these things are.
yeah.
That's
But me
so
and
cool.
Tempo, if you look at us, we look completely different, you know? Like
Yes,
Tempo's in
yes.
his own world completely. And I'm in my own world completely.
Right,
Like, and that's the beauty of it, even though we're running the same like rudiments, you know,
right.
foundationally. But yeah,
Wow, that's cool. I think that's a really cool for people to hear and just to take in about this. You can share, you can become something unique of yourself. Put more
hmm
of yourself in it. Like I think maybe eh, I'm sure it's stressed at certain points, but also yeah, just a reminder for people. You don't
yeah,
gotta do the same thing someone else is, and you can really.
Yeah, I'm huge on giving credit where it's due. Like I will always give anybody credit for everything I've like I have this like popping notebook of
Mm.
like everything I've created. Like I'm a habitual note typer. So
Oh wow.
like I have this like huge list of like moves and movements and trains of thoughts that I was on at the time, and like anything that was like a flip of somebody else, I would notate like inspired by blah blah blah, and then like from
Nice.
this video specifically, so I'd always have a reference points where I could like give them kudos. Like I feel like that's super important, and it's not so well not so common anymore, I guess.
Or people acknowledging or sharing who their references are.
Yeah, because like even like just say the waves, like there was a lot I was doing like back in 2009 that just now I'm starting to see people do, and they're like, look at this. And I'm like, and I'm just like sitting back in the corner, and like I'm not braggadocious like at all. Like I'm super just chill guy. So like I'll see it though, and just be like, I could literally I have like the secret page of videos from like the beginning of my time, and then so like I always have reference points so I can go back and be like, all right, when was I doing that? And I was like, oh, 2009. I was like, that was like 15 years ago. And like today in 2024, you're like, this is
Now
what
you're
I came up,
seeing
this
it.
is what I
Now,
created. I'm like, all right, yeah.
so cool hand. Look, the question becomes: are you gonna come back and are you gonna start entering, waving and show up and what are you? Where are you at that?
Um, life kind of just stepped in the way, but more and more dance has a way of just keep pulling me back. Like it always just pulls me back one way or another. So yeah, I do plan on coming to Waves Within next year. Yeah, I've
Hey,
been meaning to for like the past 2 years, but I had a kid one year, and then stuff happens. But
right, right.
next year for sure, I'm gonna plan on doing that because I have a lot because I watched the whole video like live stream from start to finish,
Oh,
and
nice. Okay.
yeah, just to see like what does waving look like now? Like, is it different
Mhm.
from when I left it? Like I'm curious. So yeah, so like I have a lot that I want to offer. I'm less about battles. Battling is a great catalyst to prove my point.
Mm.
Uh, but I'm less like, you know, I'm about to battle you and beat you, It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like I
yeah.
don't really care. I just have a point to prove about what I do and what's possible.
Right. Like it doesn't matter who it is. It's just I'm not there to say I'm going to win or I'm the best. You're there to show people what you do.
Yeah,
That's
I
gonna
will
say everything.
I will prove my point. Yeah, because
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I
You
went
just
through the thing about it's kind of a popping thing, but there's always a checklist. Like it's just like even when my videos first started gaining traction, it was always like, but is he doing this? Is he crawling across the floor? Is he changing levels? Is he going to the end of his fingertips? It's just an endless checklist of like why you're not at a certain place yet, and it's
okay.
just like you're minimizing my accomplishments, because it's so like that's where I have the point to prove to her. It's like, no, you're gonna respect what I do because I didn't dedicate so much time of my life that could have been towards anything else to not be solidified in what I do and just like a base level of respect and like a page in the history book. Like that's all I'm looking, even a chapter, like the chapter of Cool Hand,
Listen,
like it
I'm gonna put a post after this on my story. I'm gonna say, does Cool Hand deserve a chapter in the Wave Book? Yes or no? Everyone vote now. Of course, sir. I would say you definitely deserve in my opinion, you deserve a chapter in waving. I mean, your stuff, again, I'm going to share, your stuff was crazy. And that was like how many years ago when that whole battle of, you're saying 2009 and like,
yeah.
nah, it's different. Even to today, I mean, from what I see, it's still, it's that thing where you can put people's silhouettes on a wall, shadows, and you can watch someone's shadow. You like, that is that person. Like you can know it's just their, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It's funny,
So
even at the bare bones, like the fiber of my waves, the biggest kept secret I kept for the longest was Slick would call my waves airwaves.
airwaves. That's a very interesting description.
So this was back in 2000, 8.
Okay.
Um, so because I was very tall and at the time I was very skinny. So like I
Mm.
didn't have much like watery waves were really popular, like really like like how kind of like how slick waves, or like if you think
Okay.
about G style waves, how most people emulate it,
Hmm.
is a very popular way that people are waving. But mine was like Slick would say, he was like, you're like a bed sheet, like when you throw it over your
What
bed.
an okay, yes.
So like mine was like more like like a gust of wind, like gentle almost. So
Mhm.
naturally, it wasn't something I was trying to do. Like I'm doing a texture. Like it just was naturally what I was doing. So
Wow.
but Slick was like, don't call it airwaves, because once you do that, it's over with. He's like, everybody's gonna be, it's just, I'm doing airwaves, I'm doing this. But fast forward to 2024, elements are huge now. So it's very interesting
Yes.
that you get like, yeah,
People are like being like heavy or like light, like they're floating.
yeah, which is great, it's awesome. But
Right.
it just goes to show like the period of time I was in to now. There was so much of a gap, but like I was there still at this point in 2024 where I was just like, I was already on it. Like it's just
Yeah, yeah,
weird.
yeah. You
Yeah,
were in the future.
it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. It's insane to think about, because I'm 33 now. So like just to think about it, like I just was so innocent at the time, but like now all these years have passed and I'm just like, that's pretty crazy, Like
You're like, damn, let me give myself some props.
yeah, like I was like, man, I got to at least once.
I hear you. Wow. Okay. Question, since you mentioned airwaves, I would like to ask, um, how do I say this? I've been on this interest of animation recently.
Mm.
Just curious, studying it, asking questions. People, how poppers talk about animation, how flexing looks at animation. How do you look at animation with waves, or how would you? Would you say your waves are animated?
I can animate my waves for
I
sure.
can animate my waves. Okay.
That's also something I was doing pretty early on. It's just so again, like once you practice those rudiments, like your ABCs, you start to
Hmm.
be able to manipulate each letter individually to a higher degree than normal. So like when I would want to animate, I was able to like click the joints in a certain way that would have a different effect while
Mm.
still maintaining the fluidity. Like I never broke fluidity with animation and waving, which I felt like was extremely important. Like I always wanted to flow, even if it was like, stuttery and like almost stop motion like. So I still look at it in the same way as like a traditional popper would look at it,
Hmm.
but I just mold it in a different way with my waves, I guess.
You molding in a different way with your wave. Could you like for someone that maybe they don't understand what animation is, what would you say if they would like to ask what is animation? They would ask you. What would you say that is?
I would say more like stop motion, muscle control,
Hmm.
variety of stops. There's bounce stops, there's, vibrating stops, this the more claymation, I guess claymation is the easiest way that you can like
Hmm.
paint a picture because people have a reference of like, oh yeah, I know what that is.
Hmm.
Maybe not so much more anymore because like so much time has passed that claymation it really isn't a thing. But I
Right.
could be like, have you ever seen, Coraline? And they're like, yeah. And
Yes.
I'm like, that animation is claymation. It's a little
Yes.
smoother, but you still see like the jittery, like
Yes.
there's frames still. So like if you break things down into a frame
Hmm.
with variety of stops, you will end up animating, in my
Right.
opinion.
Right, right. No, I think that's a great example. Definitely stop motion films. And that's interesting again nowadays how just how technology is and where we're going with just visuals. Like we don't we don't see or it's not as popular, like the Sinbad, like back in the 80s and the 70s or
Yeah.
technology changes as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
It definitely helps having a character too. Um,
mm.
but like I always felt like when I wave, it is its own character, so to speak.
Ooh,
So like,
yeah, what do you mean? What do you your own character? The wave is a character?
yeah, so like not in the sense of like, I'm a monster or like this or that, it just was more of like I feel like a show like a magician. Like I feel like I can control air, so to speak, in a very magic-esque way. Like my presentations are always, they involve some sort of like sleight of hand or whatnot. So like even if I
Interesting.
would like hit something like this, I'll bring
Yes.
this up. You know what
Oh,
I mean? Like that is it's magic, you know what I mean? And then I'll hit my wave and boom. So like I always have an element of magic to my setup and delivery, which because to me, like magic is the shit, you know. Like when I see something disappear or trick my brain, I'm like, well, what? You know. So I
wow.
include that. So to me, my character is like air based. So like in its rudiments, I'm flowing, you
Right.
know, like I'm lights and flowing. But like I'm also this magician that sets things up and like, you know, so like I'm like manipulating a lot and setting it up and like painting certain pictures and causing effects, you know, like so so
You play. Continue. Sorry, continue.
no, you get
Before.
so it's not so much like a like I'm a skeleton and I'm like, you know, like the Harry Housans. It's more of like individual tailored to like my mentality, I guess.
Right. If you got the magician's mind with the body of like this cloaked thing.
Like a spirit almost, yeah.
You've seen Harry Potter, the Dementors,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Yep.
you have an actual brain that functions
Yeah,
as a magician.
yep.
So also, I
So
was gonna ask, I was gonna ask, do you play games, anime? I feel like they would be do you or
so uh you said
have you
anime?
ever been into anime or video games?
I love anime.
Okay,
This is from
there.
One Piece
Okay,
actually.
okay.
Um I'm huge into anime. Like so yeah, I'm very much fantasy driven. So
Right,
like
like the way
yeah.
you described that, it was like I sound like some character, like some
Yeah.
boss, you know?
Yeah, I'm very much fantasy driven, especially like even this guy, like Roronoa Zoro from
Mm,
One Piece.
okay.
He's a swordsman, right? So I don't know if you're familiar or not, but I'm
I,
gonna just explain it.
I've seen. I've only know briefly. I know there's one. The guy you're talking about. He has like a lot of swords, right? And one he
Yeah,
holds in his mouth. Okay.
yeah. So he's a swordsman, and his whole goal in the whole duration of the show is like, I will be the best swordsman. So like in this world of like crazy characters with different powers and stuff, he's just like, if you have a sword, he's like, you got to see me. So and
I'm gonna go
but
watch
his
that.
his style is like the three sword style. So he has his own unique approach, and he's like bound to prove it. Like my three
Wow.
sword style is superior, and that resonated so much with me to where I'm just like I feel it because that's how I feel in waves. I have my niche in waving, and I'm like, so if I see you with waves, it's no animosity, but I'm like I have a point to prove,
Yes.
you
Ooh.
know, and it
Ooh.
doesn't have to be in a battle, but like you have to see my point, you know.
We're in the same field, the same craft. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're pushing the same this energy. I see.
So like
Okay.
even in all style battles, like
Mm.
I would go through whole off style battles just waving, and they would get so mad, like, "Oh, you wave the whole time." I'm like, "Damn right, yeah," and I'm gonna keep waving, you know. So like, so like I always like these were my swords. That was my sword style, you know. So I was
Wow.
just like, I'm not wavering from it. Like this is you will have to respect it, you know.
Sharing your thoughts and just where you're pulling from, and it really makes sense. That your dance really makes sense now that I hear, understand a little more of how you see the world, or at least how you operate with dance, like and your mindset. And it makes sense for every dancer. I think as a person starts talking of what they're looking at, what it's like, how their mentalities and such, you're like, oh, it makes sense why your dance is like how it is, wherever that is, whatever that means. So
Yeah, I
interesting.
feel like the best dancers are a reflection of themselves in some way, you know.
Mm,
And
definitely,
and it
definitely.
requires a certain level of honesty. Like you can't fake it, you know? Like you can always
Right.
tell when somebody's faking it.
Right, right. Someone that, yeah, no. I would like to ask, are there any particular, uh, how do I say, ideas that or things that inspire you when it comes to movement? Do you watch anything or look at other stuff or maybe everything, or is there anything particular that you draw from?
Um, not directly. I'm always looking at dance just to see what's been done and like because like I said with the roads, like once you know where the roads are, it's easier to see the unbeaten path to go down.
Hmm.
So like especially when I was like super into it, I was always like newest battles, newest like if somebody's uploading some footage, I'm like, all right, let's see, like let's see.
Right,
It
right.
was just like always like a study. Like I felt like an astrologer almost, just like with my telescope, just looking
Ah,
at the stars and seeing like, all right, yeah, yeah. But so there's always like tidbits of like sometimes I'll even see a move and I'm like, see the possibility of what they could have did with it. So I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I would strip that down to its bare bones and like rework it. So like, which is essentially just flipping the move. But I do that a
Interesting.
lot. Like I'm very picture minded, I guess. It's like I'm very visual in my mind, so I'm like always going on like a a visual journey. Like I'm just daydreaming and like I'll come back and I'm like, all right, I gotta move,
Yeah.
like and I'll just try it and like beat it in.
Wow.
So like not so much like a specific, character or anything, but like a lot of anime, like there's a lot of unique movement styles from different unique characters that I otherwise wouldn't have seen. So like for sure he said Gemini disease, yeah. Uh
Dr. Rico, hey.
yeah, and then so that definitely, yeah, a lot of anime. It was
Lot
I
of
can't I can't minimize that impact on me for sure.
wow. Okay. This back going. I know we're kind of jumping around, but going back, and it's funny how Dr. Rico just joined. I think we left off in Memphis. So you went to Memphis and you started learning. Okay.
Yeah, so that's where Rico comes into place.
So you've connected.
I'm great friends with Rico. Like I love Rico on a personal level, like besides dance, like like he'll call and just check up on my kids and stuff. Like he's still in the same place, like I'm like, and I it's rare even with people that I do know. So it's
Mhm.
just like I always hold him to a certain respect. I'm like, dance aside, But yeah, I went and did Memphis versus everybody the first competition
Mm.
and just went over there and you know, just started spilling my waves and and then Rico loved it. Rico was a great waver at that time even, but so like he was inspired and we just connected on that. And so like it would be waving and then juking and then like it would get lopsided and Rico would just like primarily be teaching me juking and then like I would have to bounce back at a certain point, but yeah, Rico taught me pretty much everything with juking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So now you've learned juking, and you're competing in juking events.
um
Or-
i've done I've done a few, but I always mixed my waves enough to I never felt satisfied with my performances. I'm always less like I'm still in like an infancy with it to where I'm just like I have so much further to go. Like
Mhm, mhm.
these guys down here, they live and breathe it from so long to where it's
Oh,
just like
right.
I'm not there yet. You know what I mean? I can blend my waves and do some cool shit to where I can get a
Yeah.
pass, but
Yeah.
they're just like their heart is in it, like their whole soul is behind it. So it's just
Yes.
different.
Yeah. All right. Okay. And then after that time, what did you come back to popping, or you kind of just took a break? You just kind of do your own? Did you end up like where? What would you say your
So
journey after that
so
was?
at that point, I was like obsessed with juking,
Okay.
like in like it's not like a primarily a footwork based style, but like the footwork aspect of it, I was lacking severely because like the
Mhm,
way I was taught was like a lot of heavy steps and planted positions. So
mhm,
like once I started learning how to move like my feet and like rotate and do certain things like from Rico, it just was like pff, I was like, so what if I connect my waves in this way? What if I
mhm,
start it over
mhm.
here like with my feet? Like what if I wave with my legs? You know?
Right. Right.
So it
Right.
ended up like sparking that curiosity and creativity again to where the more I feel like I can play with things, the more interested I am. So like
Mhm.
it got me playing again, which was great to feel. And so like I was able to sew my waves into juking seamlessly without compromising juking,
Nice.
which was like my goal. I was like, I don't want to compromise this because like you'll see, everybody or not everybody, but some people every once in a while they'll just do like a classic, butt
Mhm.
jump and then go right back into their stuff.
Right.
And like to me, it's like you don't really you haven't blended it enough to where like you own both. Like to me, it's very important to own both before I present it.
You show yeah I can see it's like I'm doing it just to show you I can do it, but it's not within it's that
It's
that's what it
not
sounds
it's
like.
not to my satisfaction, but I
Yeah,
am like a perfectionist. So it's like I gotta give myself some type of grace, but like I'm always like I can do so much better.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I hear you. And then
Yeah.
where you did you compete and get more in all styles? Did you just where were you with dance in that point?
So at that point, like all style battles were really gaining traction You know,
Okay.
even to the day, like I would say they're the most popular format, damn near.
Okay.
Um, so like I would hop in a lot of those because it gave me the freedom of like, okay, I don't have to necessarily be in a popper's box. Like if I
Mhm.
don't want to just be like, 80% hits, 20% waves, or
Yes.
70% hits, 30% waves, like I can just do what I want,
Mhm.
you know? So
Mhm.
like, and the tricky part gets with the judging and whatnot, because like different judges bring different, perspectives and whatnot. But it just was more of an experiment for me, and like being able to see and go against different styles. But
Right.
so that's kind of where I have lived since then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been battling them in Michigan? These would be all style events out there?
So there is some here, but like even last year, I won a Le Twin battle in, what was it, Kansas City.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, all style battle down there. So like it's just random stuff that'll pop up, and I'll just like, well, let me go see. Or like World of Dance, it'll be like in Chicago, and I'm like, yeah, let me go see.
Okay.
Just yeah.
Okay. Is there anything in the future besides Ways Within that you're like, interested in attending or looking into, or
Nah,
you
honestly.
just chilling? You're like, "Oh, I'm chilling right now."
Well, it's like I always want to go back to Memphis. That's always on my to-do list. California in general, like I've never been to Cali,
You've
and that's like the
never been to Cali?
uh,
What?
that's the Mecca, it's the homeland. So I have to go at least once, but that's way within. So yeah, so but other than that, no, that's why I like the idea of the Kraken, because it's just like even from the beginning, it's just like I'm like lurking beneath I'm like this, monster beneath the sea, but like it's hardly ever seen, It's just like almost like fabled. So like,
Ships have to sail over to go see where they encounter it,
yeah, and
right?
if you do see it randomly, then it's just like, oh shit, like, cool, So like that's kind of the approach I've maintained, even from like Slick, kind of keeping me in the holster. So I'm always like,
Mhm.
I enjoy that. Like I don't really want to be a front runner of like you're always seeing me everywhere, and like, so I kind of like just being chill, and then like I pop up and people are like, oh shit, like why are you here? And I'm just like, hey, I just decided to come.
This has piqued my interest. He's like an anime character. You're like, oh, what the? Everyone's like, he's here, and he's like, oh, he's just chilling, looking at the wall or something, studying something. He's got his book and something, looking at his book, studying.
Yeah, I just like that. I feel like there's so much more like freedom in that approach than to be like, I have
Yeah.
to win everything. I have to be everywhere. So
Nice, dope. Okay, ways within. Well, there's a year, and so in 1 year, that'll be the next one. So, okay. Um, well, I like to ask you your dance journey, the whole, from beginning to now currently. What were some highlights or memories that you would like to share? Yeah, I guess maybe impactful moments. I'm sure there's so many, but maybe some that come to your mind. Like if you were like, I'm gonna pick like three memories for a rant. Like if I was to just put my memories onto a chip and I can like give it to somebody for them to see, what would be like three memories you would like to put on that hard drive from your journey?
it mostly involves just like random instances. Like there's like this instance to where like I made this girl cry when I was
Oh,
dancing. Yeah, and
nice.
like, and that wasn't my intention. It's not like I was being like overly, dramatic, like, oh, like, oh.
The
But
death of.
yeah, but she ended up coming up to me just like sobbing, and she was like, "That was so beautiful," and I was just like, it really just shook my brain and like my whole perspective up, because I'm just like, I didn't take into account how certain people were perceiving it. It just was more so what I was putting out, you know. So
Right.
it just like that was like,
Romantic wave. The we.
yeah. So that was an insane experience to me, because I've never experienced something like that.
Okay.
And the other thing is like kids. Like I've had kids just like really like tugging at my like sweater, like trying to like just like talk to me, like acknowledge me, and I'm just like, what? Like but they're just super inspired at the time, so they're like just gravitating. But
Right.
those type of things, like even though they're small, they were the most impactful, even amongst like the So You Think You Can Dance and like high praise situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was those more like emotional felt experiences to where I was just like, wow, like this feels worth it that I've spent my time doing this at this moment at least. So
Right.
uh,
Wow, no, that's beautiful. The impact,
yeah.
the impact you have on people and others, not even knowing it. Um, Outside of dance, what are some things or memories would you want to share if you'd like to share? I think a lot of people know. I know you as this dancer, this person. What are some things you might want people to know of like who Cool Hand Luke? That's the name, that's the symbol, but underneath.
That's my buddy right there. He knows me as well as anybody does.
We got to put him on here. He can share some stories.
He'll just be talking shit. Uh,
Ah,
so I'm a very movement based person, even outside of dance. Like I love boxing, I love jujitsu. Like it's all just movement to me. But I guess the biggest plot twist that most people don't know about is I had bacterial meningitis when I was like 12.
hmm.
Almost got taken out completely, and the success rate of people that survive that, like I forget the percentages now because it's been so long, but they always come out like missing a limb or like brain functionality or yeah, because
Hmm.
like the case I had was like septic, so it went in my bloodstream, which was extremely rare. Like the hospital I was at, they only had read about it. Um, so yeah, so at that point, like once I was recovered and came out unscathed, once I started getting into body movement stuff, I just was more thankful that I was able to have a body to move, and I was
Hmm.
able to move without constraint, in my body. So like it just made me so much more appreciative of body movement. So like a lot of my interests happen to be body movement related, but
Wow.
I also can make music. Like I can like rap, like it's just like
What?
yeah,
You
yeah,
gotta drop a track, man. Put it on SoundCloud.
yeah. Yeah, I've like done freestyle battles and just yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the world of creativity to me is like just give me a catalyst and I'll go crazy with it.
Man, that's dope. Your freedom. You're like a free scientist. You're like you can tap into the place it's like you can see everything. You see the codes in some sense. You
Yeah, I'm
see
just
it.
like experimenting with different chemicals. I'm like, oh, it's a new
Yes.
chemical. Like, let me try that.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Oh man. Well, I guess honestly, I have one last question to ask, and
Yeah,
again, I appreciate the time and tell them about B Boy Cool Hand. You B Boy too?
yeah. I had a periods where I was breaking. Yeah, the freedom I got from breaking was what drew me to it. So I was just like, I took
Mm.
a workshop from B-Boy Flexum. And
Mm.
so he was just like, so like you can do anything. And I was like, I would show him something. I'm like, what about this? And he would show me like how to translate it into breaking. Cause like he would
Mm.
have this system of like 5 moves to where it'd be like almost like pictures, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it was like a sequence of movements, but it would end like very B-boy-esque. So
Mm.
that really drew me into it because I was just like, I felt free of the popping chains towards like I don't have to adhere to this box anymore. Like I can be free, like just run rampant. So,
Wow.
but I ended up doing a hollow back and blew my back out. So
Oh
I
no.
still suffer from that to this day. So yeah, that dramatically shifted me back to like waving and juking and whatnot.
Wow. Okay. Wow. It's wild again, just how life deviates or changes, and just again, not saying good or bad, but just the changes, the unpredictableness, and then how it blossoms into other things in life. It's fascinating. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Um, wow. Okay, back to the last question I would like to ask you is if you had the attention of the world, if you have the world watching you right now, what is a message you would like to tell the public? What is something you want to tell the world? It could be dance. It doesn't have to be dance. It could be whatever. It's a message. What is something you would like to share?
that's a deep question.
Yeah, yeah. And take your no rush. Yeah, take your time with it. It's definitely I won't even know what. I'd be sitting here for like 30 minutes right now. That was
I would
actually.
say, honestly, I would say find your path and
Mm,
walk it. Like, do not stop walking it. Like, and
mm,
it's almost cliche to say, but it's so pivotal in my existence. Like,
Hmm.
so even like me with waving or like whatever your path is, it could be, you want to be a doctor. Like, and no matter like what weeds pop up or like, like if it's a Pokemon game and like you get wild Pokemon and trainers popping up, like just
Just
pick your battles,
keep going.
and keep going. Like, so if that's your path, be sure of it and just keep walking.
Wow. Keep walking. Just keep walking. Don't stop.
Yeah, because like
Man.
my
Hmm.
life has like deviated into like my main paths have gone out here and then went right back to my main path. But like the amount I've learned on that side trail is just like, invaluable to me. So like I feel like just walking that main path will bring you to where you're supposed to be.
That's it, guys. Everybody watching, that's your quote of the day. You open up a fortune cookie, that's it. That's your thing. Because that's beautiful. Beautiful, sir.
Oh, one more
Cool.
thing before I
Oh,
before I forget.
this is on the back of the
Um
fortune. On the back. Okay.
so in regards to airwaves at the time, Slick told me that there was only three people that he knew of that he's ever seen that were capable of doing it. And so it was me, this OG that he used to dance with. I forgot his name. I wish I remembered
Oh
it.
no, we need that
And,
name. No, just
and Camo from Texas. So shout out to Camo. I don't even know if he knows this.
Camo. Oh, I don't think I know.
C
I'm not familiar.
A M O, Camo.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Hmm.
from
From
Texas.
Texas.
hmm
Hmm.
So
Okay.
like honestly, I like I said, Slick kept that so guarded to where I don't even know if Camo is aware of that or not, but he possesses a similar quality in that sense. So shout out to Camo. Like, that's a very
Oh,
unique thing to double down on.
interesting. Well, thank you for dropping that. We would have not known that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like I said, you have to give respect when it's due.
Yeah,
Always.
man. Much respect, Cool and Luke. For real. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you sharing your story, your time. Definitely, I, I believe you will definitely be out here in California. And when you do, hey, love to meet you in person as well. Um,
For sure.
but again, much love. And there you have it, everybody. The legend, the myth. He'll be back in the future. He's going to the ocean, the Kraken, and then he comes back up and then he shows up.
To
So,
the depths.
yes. Okay, anyway, man, I hope you have a good night. Hope the family, everything's calm and, blessings. So,
For sure.
appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Pleasure.
Take care.